Ladies and gentlemen, and it is the Peepshow podcast. Rhett and Grayson. Alrighty. So, Rhett, do you think we should get into it?
Yes, sir. You all heard the man right there, Grayson the Wizard. What's going on, guys? I am Rhett. Both of us going to be joining together here to bring you one of the grooviest podcasts on the face of the planet, the Peepshow podcast. Basically, we are going to bring you, or at least we're going to try to bring you, some of the best movie talk, anything talk that you want to see, because
movie-related jargon coming to
nowadays
from the coolest cats in town.
You hear me, Grayson?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, cool, man. Anyways, today we are talking some of the greatest movies of all time. Now, this is going to be a discussion that probably lasts a little longer, but Grayson, let's go ahead and throw things out the window immediately in a good sense of the word. What is the greatest movie of all time?
Well, that is a mighty difficult thing to say, really. I honestly have to put on the table Citizen Kane. I mean that has to be in the discussion, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people say that it's overrated and they don't get it, but honestly, the first time I saw it, I didn't really have much of an appreciation for it at all until I started taking a TV production course. When I realized Citizen Kane is like film school in a bottle. Like, everything you want to know about filmmaking, you can learn from watching Citizen Kane. Like how it uses lighting and just the unique camera angles is something that Orson Welles did back when that movie was made, and we've only started to use those same techniques nowadays. It has more in common with modern cinema than it ever did with its contemporaries.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, actually. Kind of like how Raiders of the Lost Ark is, the pinnacle for action movies.
Definitely.
Citizen Kane is kind of what every single
drama,
not only like certain, maybe drama, but even technical filmmaking. I mean, you're right, man. But we gotta upload that. Geronimo video.
I have it on my YouTube channel, at Grayson Richmond. I have Geronimo on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out. Yeah.
All right, cool. Definitely check that out if you haven't already, guys. Geronimo, you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of scrounging around, but if you go to Blake HS TV and film, I believe you will find it there, one of the top results. But it's actually a pretty cool video, man. It was
definitely really fun. It was sort of a pain in the ass to try to make sure people showed up on time, because
that was the thing. It was a real pain to actually try and shoot. And when you tried to shoot it, especially with so many scenes,
definitely,
you're only shooting so much, and you have a day to shoot it, and it takes this many days. You can't knock out 4 hours of it in a day. And I think one of the funnest scenes to shoot was probably the Psycho scene too.
Oh, the Psycho scene was fantastic. Julia she's a really good sport.
Yeah,
but on a shoestring budget for like a school project, when you want talent for your project, you can't really pay that. Like, I didn't have enough pocket money to pay any of the actors, so they could show up, but they couldn't. But I wasn't in any actual control, which is discouraging to say the least.
Yeah, but you still got it done, and it's the only music video that made it to contest. So
Seriously?
it's in the Tampa Bay Student Film Contest next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at Spoto. Tickets are $3 to get in. He's been telling you guys about it.
Has he? Oh, I haven't heard any of it. We were just talking about the. We were just mainly focused on certification. We got our premiere certification.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been talking about it. Next Tuesday I got into contest. But going back to one of the greatest some of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. We talked about this a couple of days ago. We just never finished it.
Yeah.
But going back to some of the greatest movies of all time, you can't look at some of the greatest movies of all time without taking a look at my personal favorite, Back to the Future. Not one, not two, but all three. And some people will argue, no, they are not the best cinematic, films of all time, but you can argue that it is one of the greatest screenplays of all time.
I think it's one of the greatest. It certainly is top 100 best movies you have to see before you die. I mean, and the pure creativity of Zemeckis, going into that project.
Really,
I mean, he's kind of a Spielberg suck up, one of those like Abrams, and he's sort of part of that camp. But I mean, I certainly have disagreed with some of the things he said. Like, he totally screwed over Crispin Glover, but just the pure creativity behind that first movie, I'm not with you where I think all three of them are terrific, but certainly the second two, they're certainly okay and they're worth watching at least once, but I don't get that drive to where I want to revisit it like at least once a year. I have to watch. That's one of those movies I have to watch at least once a year before,
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the movie because go ahead.
I just think it works on so many different levels. Like, it works as a romantic film, it kind of in some awkward ways, but the whole mother-son thing. But it also works as an adventure story. It works as a science fiction film. It works a comedy, definitely.
Yeah.
And as a drama in some levels, with Biff, this probably the biggest asshole ever put to celluloid.
I'll tell you what, though. I like the third one. Nobody likes the third one. Nobody likes to like the third one, but I really, really like the third one. I'm not saying it's, number one out of the three, but it's not like I don't watch it and change the channel if it's on TV. You know what I mean? I'll watch it and I'll watch the whole thing because I like it. I like the whole series.
I mean, I'll watch it. I guess I'll watch it if there's nothing there's nothing that I'm looking for on TV. Like, if there's some show that I want to watch, like I'm just browsing channels, sure, I'll have it on as background noise. But like, I've never actively pursued watching the third one. It's just,
well, that's true. I don't go out of my way to watch it. I'll put it that way. I like it, but I don't open up the box set and say, oh, hell, we're going to watch the third one today. That doesn't happen. Excuse me. But, that is great first impression, guys. You're watching the Peep Show podcast. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at Peep Show Podcast. Anyways, we are talking greatest movies of all time, and we're right in the middle of talking about Back to the Future before we let out some massive gaseous monsters. There we go. All right. But the thing with Back to the Future, man, is that I like the whole trilogy. I like all the films in the trilogy. Even Star Wars. some of the greatest films of all time. I do not hate the prequels, but I do not appreciate episode 1. I do not like episode 1. I like episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like The Force Awakens much better than episode 1. I'm sure anyone does, but it's hard to say that I like Star Wars as much as Back to the Future, being honest, when I don't like one of the films in it. You know what I mean?
I suppose. I mean, you don't... See, when it comes to the prequels, the one that I don't like is episode 2. I can't.
Yeah.
I've never been able to stand episode 2. Like everyone craps on episode 1, and sure, Jar Jar Binks is annoying, but I honestly really kind of like the Phantom Menace. There's just something about it that makes me kind of happy. First of all, it's a gorgeous movie. It is a gorgeous movie to look at, and I don't know, just the lightsaber fights alone are worth revisiting, I feel.
Well, I think it's also another one of those things. Well, I mean, there's a bad movie in every single film series. Look at Mad Max. Everybody hates Thunderdome. But
seriously, I thought everyone hated the first one.
No, everyone hates Thunderdome, actually.
Are you sure? Because I always thought Thunderdome and the second one had... Thunderdome and Road Warrior had more in common with each other than the first two did.
No, not Thunderdome. Beyond Thunderdome. My bad. Everyone hates Beyond Thunderdome. But regardless, going back to Star Wars, I also think it comes into play, when and where you first saw it. I think it's with the prequels. Prequels are hit or miss with a lot of people, but I like the third one as well. I like the third one the most out of all the prequel. I love how burping has just become a norm on the show. The third one,
all 10
is
minutes of the show so far. We've already created a trope or whatever.
But the third one is it's got to be my favorite of the prequels. Not only because that was the first one I watched when I was old enough to understand the plot, and I had played the video game before I watched the movie. But it was the first Star Wars movie that I ever saw in a theater. And I'm sure it was for a lot of people. But it was the first Star Wars film I ever saw in a theater. And I don't know. I like the story a lot better. Or that aspect, or that part of the story a lot better.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. They got thrown in lava. At least he didn't get thrown in a pit of sand. He hates sand.
Oh, I can't stand sand. No way, man.
Sand's Padme. So coarse and irritating, and it gets everywhere. It's not like you. You're so soft and...
Oh, God. What was that? I saw this thing. It was I don't know if it was... God, I don't remember if it was a video, but it was the real reason Anakin killed the younglings. It's
some of them tracked in sand.
No, it was a joke. It was a sand joke. I don't remember the punchline, but it was funny as hell. I'll try to find it a little bit later. But speaking of great space movies,
okay,
and we talked about this a couple of months back. We never got too far into it, but one of my favorite movies of all time as well has got to be Melbourne Spaceballs. Now, Spaceballs 2 has been confirmed. And
has it? I thought he was joking about that.
No, it has been confirmed. We don't know where they are in production. I don't know if production has started yet. But we do know that at one point or another in the recent past, they were in the pre-production phase.
My question is, how can you do Spaceballs without John Candy?
Yeah.
Okay, you can do it without Joan Rivers. I'm not going to lie, Joan Rivers was not the backbone of that. But come on, how can you do Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, without John Candy?
That's the concern, is that it's very, very hard to do a movie like that without one of your best supporting characters. Now, Joan Rivers, you're right. She wasn't a staple in the series. She was there, and she was a key character, but nobody fell in love with her. She didn't have T-shirts made of her. She wasn't even on the animated series that came out. But it's hard to take a franchise like that and take
Oh God, you just made me remember Spaceballs, the animated series. That was that was the worst thing ever.
I'll tell you what, though, regardless of how bad that series was, I miss G4 TV, man.
Yeah, what was that channel about anyway? Something like
it was pretty much it was a nerd's heaven, man. It was shows about movie reviews, shows about video games, shows about comics. That's literally all it was. It was like if Comic-Con had its own syndicated channel, it would be G4.
Is that the one where there was the show with Chris Hardwick and Olivia Munn? Was that the one that was like Attack of the Show?
Attack of the Show, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, I never...
Young Grayson remembers Attack of the Show.
I never... Ninja Warrior was on it, too. That's how Ninja Warrior got its start, or at least over here in the States. Seriously? It was broadcast on G4. But I never liked Chris Hardwick. He always got on my nerves.
Yeah, I've listened to some of his stand-up, and it's...
Is it not funny?
I wish... I could listen to the Nerdist without podcast without having to listen to Chris Hardwick, just because he gets these terrific interviews. He did this amazing one with Anthony Bourdain and this really cool one with John Cleese. But he's just kind of smug, you know, just
Well, I think another thing is that he's just not. His humor is very, like you said, smug, but his humor isn't original.
No, it's like it's sort of
yelling, you know, funny sounding words, and it just. He was never my favorite. I don't know what it was. A lot of people love Chris Hardwick. For a while, he was the host of every damn show on TV, but
he still is kind of.
He's the host of The Walking Dead or The Talking Dead. He's the host of the At Midnight Show. I don't even know if that's still on Comedy Central anymore.
Oh God.
He's on.
I never even saw that.
He was on Attack of the Show, but Attack of the Show ended, and now I think it's like internet exclusive. I think G4 TV actually still has their website up.
Are you searching it?
Pull it up here, and I'll screen share it.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the main topic. Let's get back to cinema classics, some of the greatest films of all time. Or are we doing greatest films or our favorite films?
You know what? We'll go ahead and do a mix of both because, I mean, it's not like we have bad taste in movies or anything.
Certainly not.
Not to blow our own horn or anything, but...
I think, even though it isn't my favorite movie of Kubrick's, I think The Shining might be his best movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's just something about it.
You know what? The Shining, and you said as a Kubrick movie, correct?
Yeah. Because, you could make an argument that any one of his movies, so many of his movies belong on the top 10. Like, if you had to pick one Kubrick movie on top 20 greatest films of all time, because in my opinion, if you make the films of all time, it's going to be a bunch of Kubrick movies because when he set out to make a movie, he says, "Oh, I'm going to make a comedy." Boom, Dr. Strangelove, one of the greatest comedies of all time. What I'm going to do a science fiction movie. I'm going to make the science fiction movie. Boom, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm going to do a horror movie. I'm going to make The Shining the horror movie of all time.
I'm going to do a war drama movie. I'm going to put out Full Metal Jacket. I'm going to do a Strange movie. I'm going to put out A Clockwork Orange. You're right. He was sent here
to make
movies and die.
Yeah.
I don't think the man had any other purpose. We talked about a story a couple of months ago. I forgot who was telling the story. I believe it was the guy that played Private Pyle in Full Metal Jacket.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
And he was telling the story about him, Kubrick, and I believe the guy that played Joker. I always forget his name as well.
Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson?
No, Private Joker.
Oh God, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But regardless, it's Kubrick, him, and Joker in the car, and they're all driving. And they're driving through. It's a 2-lane road, trees on every side, and Kubrick's driving. He's like, "Look, We're going to build up. We're going to build up over here. We're going to shoot over there. We're going to put the trailers up right there. And they're coming around the corner.
Oh, yeah, you told me this.
And this truck is coming, so they have to swerve out of the way of the truck without almost getting hit. So they swerve out of the way. The van that they're in goes airborne, flips over, lands on its roof. And everybody makes sure they're okay. They all get out. Kubrick gets out, dusts himself off, and is like, and then we're going to build some of the sound stages over there, and the production will stay. And they were like, this guy had nothing else in mind but to make movies. And I think that's awesome. I mean, I'm sure it's dangerous.
Yeah, ask Shelley Duvall. I'm sure she'd like say some pretty nasty things about him.
Who?
Shelley Duvall, the wife in The Shining. Like apparently he was like what?
She said it's nasty things about Kubrick.
Yeah, in The Shining, he was really nice to Jack Nicholson, but he was always sure to be extremely rude and go out of his way to make Shelley Duvall uncomfortable. And so that in her performance, she'd get really stressed out and start crying and stuff.
It would be genuine.
Huh? Exactly. Yeah.
Genuine.
Yeah. And
that's crazy, man.
But like really creepy stuff. Like she had to do like over 100 takes of the scene where Jack Nicholson's coming at her. Like over like
breaking through the door.
I think the one where he's coming, where she's like swinging the baseball bat at him. I think it was that shot. I think it was that shot, but I could be wrong. But something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, he was definitely
the perfectionist.
Yeah, and it was a little documentary on Full Metal Jacket. It's about 25 minutes. You can find it on YouTube. But the guy that played Private Pyle, he was heading into that movie. They were looking for guys about 6 foot, average build, a little bit bigger guy. And they wanted him to be the dumb guy. So he showed up. He got the job. And Kubrick's like, all right, you're a healthy kid. He was like a D1 football prospect, a wrestling champion in high school. He was in great shape, tremendous shape. Kubrick's like, all right, I need you to gain 100 pounds in a month. So he just ate, and he gained 100 pounds. And along with gaining 100 pounds, the health problems stacked up. And he shows up. And he does the movie, but the scenes where he's running and they're dragging him, that's genuine.
Yeah.
From what he was saying, and he's like, I still haven't gotten over the health issues today. And I mean,
it was a damn good movie though.
It was a damn good movie, but it'd be a little bit more worth it if Private Pyle wasn't only in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But, going back to what you said, if you had a top 25 list of the greatest movies of all time and you could only pick one, you know what? I'm not going to do that. If you could only pick 2 Kubrick movies, which ones would you put on there?
Probably 2001, since that's just such a visceral, almost spiritual experience. And The Shining, just because, how Cronenberg does body horror and, there's
just blood and guts. And
then there's the slasher horror with what's his name? Who's the director who did Nightmare on Elm Street?
Wes Craven.
Wes Craven does the slasher genre really well. Kubrick, The Shining, there's body horror and then there's slasher horror. Kubrick's horror is like soul horror. It's not shocking and it's not gonna make you jump, but it just the realization just disturbs you on a spiritual level.
Right. And I think it does qualify as a horror film and a slasher film, but I think a film that also did that really well. I didn't talk about it. I talked to it about Cole. Cole is a buddy of ours. He's going to be on the show very soon.
Fantastic.
But talking to Cole about it, and a character that does that really, really well is Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw, because it's a silent protagonist, but when you really peel it back and you break down that character, you kind of learn more about it and you're like, ugh, you know what I mean? It's not so much as I never was able to watch Texas Chainsaw and like react to the movie and be like, oh, get out of there. You know what I mean? And some people also go into Thrasher, what the hell? Thrash metal movies, slasher movies. and they go in there and they kind of like want to see the scenes of people getting killed, but Texas Chainsaw just felt raw, and it felt like I didn't want this guy to, get the job done. And I think that's another one of those movies you walk away from it and you just kind of feel bad. Like you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never actually seen Texas Chainsaw all the way through.
You're not a big horror guy.
I mean, there's some horror that I really love. Like I love gothic horror, I love fantasy horror, and I love like sort of thriller horror and some of the interesting sort of almost Kafka kind of horror. I like the sort of intellectual,
like messes with your head horror.
Intellectual horror that Cronenberg does, where it's almost a Freudian sort of like sort of peels back and very meticulous kinds like
The Fly.
Like The Fly. It's very
The Fly, one of David Cronenberg's greatest movies, one of the best movies of all time if you're into that genre.
Yeah, and if there's more to it than just the blood and guts, and even if when the blood and guts are thought about and you treat it with care, even then sometimes I'm not always into it, but I would never denounce anyone who is really into horror or something like that. Like I'm really into
sci-fi.
Tacky sci-fi movies, and sometimes there's like a good crossover with science fiction and horror. Alien's one of them. Another great body horror movie. Like just that movie makes not just women but me too just paranoid about rape. It's just the architecture of that movie.
Right.
It's purposeful. It's H.R. Geiger's. There's a 30-foot vagina on the side of this spaceship. It's just his artwork is very rapey.
It's wacky, but it's like at the same time it kind of works.
Yeah, it's very sexual and
he's not so much. I mean, his movies are very.
I mean, he's taking a dirt nap now, so
yeah, don't have to worry about him coming at you anymore. But I'll tell you a guy who I think he's a genius. Musically, he is toned down a little bit. I think he's a genius. I think he is a great filmmaker when he's on his A game. But Rob Zombie has been on it for quite some time. But that's his art style. Is very, very.
It's like the punk of horror. It's just
right.
Sort of,
right.
It's sort of in your face. Yeah, and there's some things about. I can appreciate Rob Zombie. I can appreciate some of his stuff. I mean,
I can appreciate Rob Zombie, but I'll tell you one thing that gets on my nerves is that his wife is in every damn thing he makes, and she is not that good. She really isn't. She's a beautiful woman, but her acting chops are just really, really not. God, I don't know, man.
Have you ever seen? Do you know who Harmony Korine is?
I know who Harmony Korine is.
He did Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
His wife is in all of his movies.
Of his movies, yeah. He did Spring Breakers, and what else did he do?
And she's gorgeous, but she's terrible. She is so. I don't really like Harmony Korine all that much. Like the Harmony Korine style of filmmaking, it was almost like what we did with Fear and Loathing, but without any sort of. It's a. Hey guys, let's take this camera, go to this location, and fuck around. It's like he did with Trash Humpers.
Yeah, but he also he was a guy who seemed to rip off a lot of people.
Yes.
He presented it as, people thought Spring Breakers was great. I don't know why, but they did. But he presented it as this original idea that hadn't been done before, and it was like. It was hard to watch because it's like, okay, that's straight out of a Tarantino movie. Anybody could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seemed like he was very, 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 I don't know, man. But what are some other great films? We were talking about two Kubrick movies you could put in a top 25 list. One of them was 2001.
2001 and The Shining.
And The Shining. I would honestly have to go with. I will go with. I'll go with 2001 as well. I'll go with 2001 because, like you said, it is a visual adventure.
It's like he worked with the author of the story.
Yeah,
and they just worked together to create such a fantastic. I'm trying to put this to words. It's a visceral experience.
keep talking. I gotta go close my door really quick. Hang on.
Okay, sure. It's I don't know. I feel whereas someone like Spielberg is I sort of compare it to him to Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, where Spielberg is more like Stan Lee, where he's sort of the fun uncle who, everyone likes to be around and stuff. But then there's Steve Ditko, who's your grouchy uncle, which would be your Kubrick, who
But he's smart.
you don't always enjoy being around him all the time, and you can tell he's really smart. And sometimes he's a little bit rougher, but you actually end up learning something from him. And each time I go back to 2001, I find a new layer I can analyze and new ideas and inspiration I can gain from that film.
Yeah. It's a beautiful film, man.
And it came out in 1965. It is scary how good those special effects are for 1965.
I don't know what it is about certain films from the 60s, but there's a lot of great quality films from the 60s. I forgot the name of the movie that we were watching a review of yesterday. Welcome to the Basement.
Satoshi? It's the masseuse. It's the masseuse. The blind swordsman.
The blind swordsman, but what's his name? It's like Satoshi.
It translates to
Gotta bust out the
it's Zatachi. Yeah, you're right.
Zatachi?
Yeah. Oh, no, Zatuichi,
the blind swordsman. We were watching a review about that, and we were watching it, and we're like, this came out in the 60s? The year was like 62.
Oh, Japanese cinema of that time.
Oh, yeah.
You got your Kurosawas. There was Zatuichi. I adore Akira Kurosawa so much. He is one of my favorite filmmakers. Just not to mention how much of an influence he was on George Lucas in making the Star Wars movies. If you see the making of Star Wars, he was like, the reason Jedi are just the way they are is because they're supposed to look like samurai, and just the way they go about and they handle themselves. And actually, I want to do a fact check. Want to go back. The 2001 came out in 1968. It did not come out in 1965.
Regardless, the 60s was a booming time for film, and that's, I think, when we saw the most advancement. You know what I mean? Things were jumping into color, and it was crazy 10 years.
Color came out a little bit before this, a while before the 60s.
Yeah, but it was very, like, you would see more color. I know what I said could be taken out of context is like, what the hell, color was around before that. But I mean, like, you would see, like, A Space Odyssey, you would see visual representations in movies, and you're like, that looks beautiful, something that you wouldn't see in the 50s. You know what I mean?
Sure, I suppose.
Colors would pop.
Honestly, I think the two biggest advancements, and you can feel free to debate this with me, but I think the two single greatest advancements in cinema were Citizen Kane and a little film that came out in the summer of 1977, Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because Star Wars just changed the game on so many levels.
There's a lot of movie lists, and if you look at any movie podcast, any movie list, unless you're watching the Star Wars Minute, there's a lot of movie lists that like to try to avoid Star Wars as being like one of the greatest films of all time.
Mm.
But
No.
it's very, very,
Like, I mean,
very, very hard to not put that on any list ever.
2001 was amazing, but it didn't spawn any copycats. 2001 came out and that was it. But what came out after 2001, like Planet of the Apes or something? I mean,
Yeah,
that's not nearly on the same level. But a bunch of Planet of the Apes movies, but no one tried to copy 2001. And not that I think anyone should try to copy the prestige of 2001, but what Star Wars started was like when it came out, it made movies fun again. And just the spectacle alone is incredible. I feel what Citizen Kane did for... Actually, I take it back. Citizen Kane influenced all movies, not just dramas and think pieces. But Star Wars was as much of an influence on the cinema and the way movies are made and produced, just as much of an influence as Citizen Kane, I feel.
All right, so you're right. You're correct. You're totally right. Now, I think another thing that takes Star Wars cut above the rest, without question, I'm not saying this is what carries Star Wars' fame or its success, but the fans, man, you do not see any type of following like that for, I'm not going to say any, but you're not going to see a following like that for a movie like Gone with the Wind or even Citizen Kane, unfortunately. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, I don't think Citizen Kane was built to have a religion built around it.
That's true.
I don't think that's
coming out in the 30s and 40s weren't really, they weren't really meant to, really pop on a mainstream like that. But, it's hard to look. Okay, Fight Club. Arguably one of the best modern movies to come out.
One of the greatest thrillers of the 90s.
Yes, of the past 20 years, still holds up. Movie is
I think it's almost more of an important movie now than it was when it came out, just because I feel it speaks to this generation of young men almost more than it did when the book was written.
Yeah, but I don't think that if a Fight Club 2 were to come out, I don't think you're going to have flocks of people dressed up like they're about to walk in a Fight Club, walk into the movie to watch it. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. People are pretty weird these days. I have a friend who went to go see Zootopia.
Oh, just shut up, bro. Shut up. Shut up.
The furries, man. There were a bunch of furries there.
Oh, God.
And apparently they were more... Like, they were howling in this one scene. And just really creepy stuff.
Really disappointing.
They were more disruptive in that movie than the fans of Star Wars were.
Star Wars, when the Millennium Falcon popped up.
Yeah, they were more really kind of spooky stuff.
There's something about furries, man. I have never... You can meet a normal Star Wars fan.
Yes.
You can meet a normal Star Trek fan. You can meet a somewhat normal My Little Pony fan, if you want to go that far. I have never, ever, ever met a normal furry. They're like damn vegans.
Oh.
They have to let you know. They would walk into a restaurant with their head on just to kind of, let you know what they do in their free time. Very, very disappointing.
There's just something uncomfortable and sexual about the whole thing that just creeps me out.
It's definitely something that's a little out there. But I
not that I'm not out there, but... I was born a human, but I'm really a wolf in a human's a fox in a person's body. That's not being out there. That's lying to yourself about who you are. You have identity.
Identify as a mayonnaise bucket.
Oh my God!
That's a totally other discussion.
You remember that chick in sign language the other day
who was so upset? She was so upset.
Yeah, about how I didn't identify as like, and someone like hurt her as a little kid.
They used to strangle me with jump ropes. All right, guys, so quick backstory here. We're not going to get too much into it, but Grace and I have a couple of classes together, one of them being American Sign Language. We walk into sign language. There's a girl in the corner with 3 people around her, including the teacher, just crying her eyes out. Makeup all over the place, big highlight clothes. And I guess what had happened is...
Picture in your mind, fat, pasty.
Well, yeah, she looked like a modern-day feminist, but, I mean, regardless of being a feminist or not, she looked like she would be the type of person.
No, she was. I've spoken. I've not spoken. I know her. She is sort of that.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't talk to her much. I have never talked to her before, but this girl is in tears, man. And we walk in, and I guess something had happened. The topic of race was brought up, and she made a snapback about how your people da 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 something. This other girl snapped back and was like, "Well, you shouldn't be allowed to use the boys' bathroom," or something like that. And this girl is just, I don't even know what she is. I don't know if I can call her a girl, but she's just crying. Kids used to beat me with jump ropes in elementary school because I wanted to be identified as this. Oh, well. You know what? This is a discussion for another episode, bro. I don't want to talk about America's youth on the list of the greatest movies of all time.
Sure, but I know, but what I was trying to say was today she was in there and she was talking about how, I don't like millennials are just so frustrating. They're always on their phones and stuff. And that same girl who was crying a few weeks ago.
A freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, the millennials are always on their phones. And oh my God, like just look up for once and, get a taste of reality. And I was like, really? Little Miss Tumblr Feminist is trying to lecture me about reality.
All right.
I mean, that's a bit of a tangent. Small little tangent there, little anecdote.
Hey, you got it out, and now we know how you feel, man.
Oh, well. I'm sorry. You have a tendency to get political, people. I apologize.
You're good, pal. But anyways, guys, in the meantime, you're watching the Peepshow podcast. Welcome to our first episode. I hope you're enjoying it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And follow us on Instagram at Peepshow Podcast. Definitely going to be a lot of great things coming out of this channel in the future. Movie reviews, podcasts, and much, much more. You know what we got to do, man? This Saturday, I'm busy. But this Sunday, I am not busy. Are you busy on Sunday?
I will have to see, but I see no reason why I can't find some free time.
I was going to say, we need to shoot... We need to shoot not a react series, but we need to shoot a react episode where we react to either a bad movie, just something, not a great movie, because we're going to watch it and we're going to go, wow. You know what I mean? That's not a good reaction. We need to find a movie, and we could start as basic as one can get. We can start with The Room, if you know how to find it or get it. But this weekend we got to shoot a react episode. Sure, that could be fun. All right, guys, so a react episode, you get the gist of it. We watch it, we react, and we talk about the movie, but it should be a good time. A lot of stuff coming up on the channel, Peepshow Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But we are talking greatest films of all time. Now, we put out a lot of big names out of there. But what are some films on that list that you think either should be in the discussion
or shouldn't be?
Just, like, kind of, they're left out of the discussion, but they should be in.
I know, like I had a list of movies I love.
I had a list of movies
that nobody ever talks about, but I wouldn't put them in the running of greatest films of all time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about those regardless. I mean, they can't be the greatest films of all time, but some of the better underrated films, I guess.
Some underrated movies I really liked. There was this film that came out. I believe it was like 2009 or either 2009, 2013, 2012. Or I'll look it up. It's called Mr. Nobody, and it stars Jared Leto. And there are a lot of really interesting ideas. Now, I don't think the whole is as great as the sum of its parts, but it has a lot of really interesting sort of science fiction ideas, and it messes with time a lot, and a lot of really beautiful visuals.
Okay. I tell you what though, while you're looking that up, I don't mean to divert the discussion. We are talking about the same thing, but I always forget who directed it. And you might be watching it in English class right now. Into the Wild.
Into the Wild.
Into the Wild, the movie of the book. It was put in a film, I want to say early 2000s. I don't know. I don't remember who directed it.
2007. Director Sean Penn.
On Into the Wild?
Yeah, Sean Penn directed Into the Wild.
That is a fantastic movie. I'm in the middle of watching it again right now. I've seen it 3 times. Now, the only thing that I can nitpick out about the movie is that the entire soundtrack is done by Eddie Vedder. Now, nothing wrong with Eddie Vedder. He's got a voice of an angel, but it gets old hearing Eddie Vedder once every 20 minutes.
Sure.
Every single song in that movie is an Eddie Vedder song. I don't mind one at the intro. I don't mind one right before the credits, but every single song is an acoustic Eddie Vedder song. Now, a lot of the music is great as well, but you take out some of the singing and it really lets you soak in that scene a little bit more. And it's Alex, the main character. He's standing on the edge of the beach and he's watching the waves crash. He had just gotten over his fear of water. Now, what the movie is about this guy. His name is Chris. He graduates from high school, and he graduates from college. He wants to go off of the grid. He wants to live in the wild. So that's what he does. He goes off of the grid. He burns his cards, burns his ID, takes his car, drives as far as his car will let him. Car gets caught in a flash flood, and he's left to just wander around. Well, that's the movie. Him going off of the grid. So he ends up on a beach with a couple of other people. And there's this one scene of him standing on the edge of the beach, looking out on the water. He had just conquered his fear of water. And it's a beautiful sunset, beautiful birds flying. It is a beautiful scene. Eddie Vedder's, short in the middle of the scene really threw it off a little bit for me, because it's not that you weren't expecting it. It's just you were so invested in the visuals that when Eddie would, opened his mouth to sing, it really caught you off guard. And I pissed my pants a little bit when I heard it because it scared the hell out of me. But I think that's what held that movie back. Other than that, I think it's a fantastic movie, beautiful movie. Go check it out. Sean Penn's Into the Wild.
Cool.
What about you, Grayson? You find any? I know you were looking for that one movie.
Oh, yeah, it came out in 2009. I just wanted to make sure I got that right.
What was the movie again?
Mr. Nobody. It's
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. It's by no means a fantastic movie, but yeah, it's worth watching. It's sort of the thinking man, sit back and just relax movie. I guess that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, another good movie that I think deserves a mention is probably, it might not be my favorite Scorsese movie, but Raging Bull is a gorgeous movie in every sense of the word. Just the story and just the characters in that are so vivid, and the visuals are. He made sure to go above and beyond with the visuals in that film, just because he was afraid that was going to be his last movie.
Yeah.
And so I feel that at least deserves a mention. Another one I think that deserves mentioning was I don't know. I think people forget Singing in the Rain. I think that's one of the best movie musicals ever. It's Probably not my favorite
there's a
musical.
scene from it in Geronimo's list.
Yeah.
Geronimo, guys, we mentioned the video a little bit earlier in the podcast, but it is a music video that we did for class. Grayson directed it. Grayson filmed most of it. I was in it for really only three of the multiple shots, but it's a rundown and a reenactment of classic movies: Casablanca, Citizen Kane, The Godfather, Jaws, Psycho. Everything you can think of is in that movie, or in that short video. Like I said, go check it out. Geronimo music video. You're probably going to find it on BlakeHS_TV or something like that.
Yeah, if you just Google Grayson Richmond Geronimo music video, it should pop up. Just something of that nature.
Yeah, great.
Excuse me.
Geronimo, you will find it, and you will go.
Say
All right.
Geronimo. Say Geronimo.
Humble beginnings. Here we are, 1 subscriber in.
Really?
Yeah, we got a subscriber and a thumbs up on the video. Cool.
Ooh, who's our subscriber?
I don't know. I'll have to double check my email. But I think another movie.
We'll give him a shout out.
Huh?
We'll give him a shout out.
I gotta find him.
So there's so many other movies we didn't mention. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah.
That is sort of it just makes you I don't know how to describe it. I will always hate Forrest Gump because it won Best Picture over The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Which, looking back on it, sounds ridiculous, but
I mean, is that really going to drive your hate for Forrest Gump? I'm saying, and we can debate this right now, Forrest Gump was going to be on my list of some of the best of all time.
Yeah, I certainly don't hate Forrest Gump. It's a really solid movie, but I mean, come on, it's not better than The Shawshank Redemption. The Shawshank Redemption is The Shawshank Redemption. I mean, there's no...
Shawshank Redemption was able to strike a chord with a lot more people than Forrest Gump was, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and it has so much more to offer. I mean, Forrest Gump, I mean, he kind of goes... He kind of does the whole... He does the full retard thing, and I don't think Tom... Honestly, I didn't think Tom Hanks
should ever go full retard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just his accent in that. I like the rest of the movie, but part of just Tom Hanks in that movie just didn't I don't know, it just didn't click with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that sounds like I don't know. How can you say anything bad about Forrest Gump? Or how can you ever say anything bad about Tom Hanks? But I don't know. It's just no.
I don't know. I think the story is really what carries that film. Nothing really.
Definitely, the nostalgia of it all is.
Yeah, and nothing stands out too much about it from a cinematic standpoint. There is no impressive scene where you're like, "This is beautifully shot." So you're right on that one. But going back to underrated movies, I gotta say, a movie that not a lot of people either know or just haven't watched, and it's a movie that I can only watch one time. I've only watched it once, and I'll probably never ever watch it again. What'd you say?
Requiem for a Dream?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I watched it once, and I watched it in 8th grade. And I tell you what, after I left that movie, I didn't even want to watch a cigarette commercial. Like, it was bad. And when a movie can leave you with a very, very strong emotion, that's fantastic. That's what movies should do. You should leave a movie either sad, happy. You know what I mean? You should leave a movie feeling some type of way, not saying, "Oh, okay."
That reminds me of when I saw a Serbian film. The difference is I'm glad I saw Requiem for a Dream.
Right. You were talking about how you were just depressed for like a month after a Serbian film.
Oh, I wanted to recede inside myself and go to a place where I didn't have to exist anymore.
Well, like I say, we could do an episode of PSP Reacts to to the Serbian film, but you said
Oh no 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 no
I'm
no.
gonna
Oh
I'm gonna
oh,
talk
that's
you in.
another movie. That's another movie that not a lot of people have seen. It's called Sexy Beast. It stars Ben Kingsley. Uh,
Sexy.
have you ever heard of this movie?
I've heard of it, but I don't know if I've seen it. You said it has
Now
Ben
is not the
Kingsley in
time
it?
for you to turn it down. Now is the time for you to turn it yes. Yes, 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 yes. No, 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 no. You say the C word a lot if you don't mind that. But it's Ray Winstone and Ben Kingsley. Oh, it
Came out in
is
2000, correct?
2000, 2001, something like that.
Okay, I'm Googling it now because I'm trying to see if I know it. Got an 86%
Not,
on Rotten Tomatoes.
not a lot of people have heard of it.
Ray
It's a
Winstone.
fantastic movie. It might be one of my personal favorites. Another movie that not a lot of people our age have seen, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, is a fantastic film. It's a John Huston movie. So if you like him, you know, he's pretty
Okay.
good.
All
And
right.
Walter Houston, his dad is actually in that movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, his dad plays the old guy who takes them out to the desert.
That's that's cool.
Yeah. And speaking of John Huston, no movie character outside of a Serbian film has ever made me feel like I need to take a shower more than John Huston's character in Chinatown. Have you ever seen Chinatown?
Yeah.
Oh, that he plays the dad in that. That's John Huston.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What else has he been in?
He's mostly known for his directorial efforts. He did The Maltese Falcon, African Queen, The Man Who Would Be King, and Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
I'll tell you what was a great movie, a fantastic movie. I liked it. A lot of other people liked it. A lot of other people didn't like it. It is considered one of the greatest movies of a generation. Not of all time, but of a generation. Take that word with a grain of salt. But Boyhood was a fantastic movie. I don't care what you say. Boyhood was a fantastic movie.
Can I admit something to you?
You didn't like Boyhood, or you didn't see it?
I haven't seen Boyhood yet.
You haven't seen Boyhood? We got to watch Boyhood. Maybe we should do an episode of PSP Reacts to it.
I have not seen Boyhood, and I have not seen Stand By Me.
PSP is Peepshow Podcast. That is the acronym. So whenever I say PSP Reacts, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Stand By Me is another one of those fantastic films that not a lot of people have seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen Stand By Me. I know you love Stand By Me.
That's probably up there as on my top 10 favorite movies of all time. If not number one, to be honest with you. Well, a tight. I'll tell you what. It's number 2. Back to the Future has got to be number 1. Number 2 is going to be Stand By Me, and number 3 is Full Metal Jacket. I can tell you that much right now.
Good choice.
You know what? We'll probably talk about this last thing. I don't know how much time you have, but we'll probably touch on this last section here.
Okay.
And we might have to call this one a show. It's been about an hour and a half, so making good time.
Okay.
But we'll talk about this last section here. And, we're still on the topic of underrated movies. What about animation?
Ooh. Oh, dang it. Now that's just that's a whole other can of worms you've just opened.
Yeah. The Road to El Dorado. That movie gets a lot of mixed responses.
I've only ever seen part of it. The animation's pretty,
Animation's great.
When it comes to DreamWorks movies of that time, 2D DreamWorks movies, I got to go with Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt was a greatly animated.
That's another movie that not a lot of people know about that I really like. Let's see, animated movies. I love. You can say anything from Akira Kurosawa. I'll probably like it. My favorite one of his movies has probably got to be Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky was great. We started watching that last year. You were there, and that was
I brought that to class.
Yeah, that was a great movie. We never finished it, but I finished it on my own time. That is a fantastic movie.
Just something about that just speaks to me, like in a very like takes me back to sort of the wide-eyed childhood innocence of my youth. It just, I don't know, it just makes me feel so warm and happy inside. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think your warm and fuzzy feeling is probably what's going to end the show right here. Not saying that you being warm and fuzzy is what caused.
Well, here you have to say something about animation. What animated films do you like?
I like The Road to El Dorado. I really do. I can never remember the guy's damn name. The guy that animated Dragon's Lair.
Oh, same guy who did Secret of Nim.
Yes, the guy, but I can never remember his name.
1 second. It is Don Bluth. Don Bluth.
Look at that. We are a creative powerhouse right there, coming up with it at the same time.
Yes.
I like a lot of things from Don Bluth. I really, really do.
An American Tail.
I thought American Tail was fantastic, but he has one more that I think just blows it all out of the water.
Which is
Land Before Time.
Oh, Land Before Time. That is fantastic.
Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven were fantastic movies. He did do All Dogs Go to Heaven, right?
Yeah, he did. He did All Dogs Go to Heaven. He did, I think he did A Troll in Central Park, which was a really tacky movie.
Yeah, it was a lot different than what he had normally done. He also did, I think he did a Winnie the Pooh movie, too.
Did he? I think he did, when he worked with Disney, he did Pete's Dragon, I think, because he was an ex-Disney animator.
Yeah. But regardless, Don Bluth, the king of animation, you could call him.
I don't know. I think the king of living kings of he's one of, if there is a Mount Rushmore of animators, I think his face deserves to be up there. I wouldn't go so far as to call him the be-all, end-all.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Who do you think would be on there, though?
Well, you have to put Walt Disney on there. Don Bluth, and Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's just off the top of my head. I'm sure if you said this name, it's like, oh, how can I not put this guy on there?
Yeah.
Oh, John Lasseter, or somebody else, so and so. Oh, I totally got to put that on there. I mean, that's just
right.
Those are just the most prominent guys off the top of my head. So
I got you. Yeah, a lot of great animators though, and a lot of great underrated animation movies, and some of those animation movies are the greatest of all time. But guys, that right there is going to wrap up the Peep Show podcast for us. I want to thank you very, very much for tuning in and watching our first episode of the podcast. It has been fantastic. One more time though, before we go, I am your host, Rhett, and I am joined by my other host as well, Grayson, otherwise known as Grayson the Wizard. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us each on Instagram, man. The handle's
My Instagram name's right here, man. Right here.
Grayson _ the Wizard. The I is a 1, and I am right here, plain and simple, at Redicus. But guys, I want to thank you one more time for watching the show. We will catch you next time. Any last words, Grayson?
Bang.
Bang. Stay thirsty, my friends. I'll see you later, muchachos.